Hey guys, RedFireRex here, and today we're going to be talking about Hytale. So the last time I talked about Hytale was about 9 months ago, and a lot has happened in the community since then. I am just going to go over the 4 most recent blog posts that the Hytale team have released, rather than going through all the blog posts that have been posted since my last video. So anyway, let's just get right into it. So since many of you are new here, because my channel has literally increased by 2,000 subscribers since my last Hytale video, thank you all so much by the way, I thought I'd just explain real quick what Hytale is. The people who made the Hypixel server, the server that you're seeing gameplay of in the background right now, have decided to make their own game, and it's called Hytale. It was announced about a year ago now, and it is set to be released. I'll tell you the release date later in the video, because previously we didn't know, and now we have a rough estimate. So it looks like it's a really good game. It has a great modding API, and it looks like it's awesome for developers and everything. And I'm really looking forward to the game. I probably won't quit Minecraft, but I will definitely be uploading Hytale videos on my YouTube channel. So anyway, without any further ado, let's finally actually get into the blog posts. So in the first blog post that they uploaded, and that I'm going to cover, and then I'm going to share my opinions on, is the November 2019 update blog post. They started that one off with an apology, saying that they're super sorry about the lack of blog posts over the months, and that it has been a huge year of opportunities for them with equally huge challenges, and it's not always possible for us to communicate openly, however much we've wanted to do so. We're immensely grateful to everyone who has expressed their excitement for Hytale, produced fan works, or made articles or videos about our game. Your enthusiasm is the reason we're making Hytale, and it is also the reason that it's important that we get it right. They originally wanted to release Hytale in 2019, but that didn't happen, as we're already in December. They've stated that the reason why they've had to push back Hytale development is because they wanted to get it right. Hytale has been blew up when the first trailer released, and they want to get the game perfect and exactly right for release. And I think that's a good decision on their part, and that they should take all the time they need to work on it. I think that there's no rush for the community, and as long as they supply us with blog posts every once in a while, then the community will be satisfied. So Hypixel Studios, Hytale, Simon, Noxy, anyone from the Hytale team, if you're watching this, take all the time you need. We understand you want the game to be perfect, and that's completely fine with us, because we appreciate the time and effort that you're putting into making this game perfect for us. In the same blog post, they've also said that, and I quote, "We've previously said that Hytale will be ready when it's ready, because we're serious about providing the community with a game that meets their expectations. We can now be a little more specific," and this part's important. "Factoring in the scale of the project and the high bar we want to hit, we're planning for Hytale to be playable by everyone in 2021. So 2021 is the date that the Hytale team have given us for a time that they want the game to be out by, which is awesome that we now have an exact date. I do kind of think there is a chance that the beta could be out sooner, and that it could be out in 2020, but 2021 is when they're planning for the game to be released to everybody, which is awesome. So a lot of people did think it'd be out sooner than that, like mid-2020. Some people thought like summer 2019, but once again, they've had to delay a lot of the development because they're trying to make the game perfect for us, the players, and the community. So, and I think that's good. I think that's good that they're taking the time to make the game perfect. But yeah, as I said, I do kind of think that beta there's a chance that it could be out sooner than 2021. But you never know. We'll see. We'll see how the development goes and how they'll keep us updated over the next few months and over the next year. Some more important things that they mention in the same blog post is that and I quote, "We've been held back by our decision to focus on showing parts of Hytale that we consider to be launch ready. At our current stage of production, many parts of the game are approaching that level, but aren't quite there yet. Other aspects of Hytale are in much earlier development or are awaiting revamps. We've been holding ourselves back from revealing these aspects of the game for fear of showing too much too soon. However, we completely understand, and to those in the Hytale community who would prefer us to be a bit more open about what we're at. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. This means we will be showing more work-in-progress aspects of the game, which may include features that aren't fully polished yet, or that may change between now and launch. In fact, we will be actively seeking feedback on certain features to ensure that we're headed in the right direction. We know that players are awaiting for answers on sensitive topics like beta testing, release platforms, and our business model, but unfortunately it is still too soon for us to make announcements in this regard. But we know how important these subjects are to the community, and they have not been forgotten." So the part where they said that that they will be more open, I think that's an awesome idea. I really hope that they do take a lot of inspiration and community feedback on the game, because I think that strengthens a lot of the relationships between the developers and the community. Or the developers can be open and we can provide our feedback. I think that'll be really helpful for Hytale's development, and I think that's an awesome move on their part. Part about the release date and sensitive topics, I completely understand why they aren't ready to release those yet. Makes complete sense. I hope soon though, in the future, they will release like the platforms that it's on so that we can prepare. But I think I respect their decision to hold back on it. There's also one more thing in the November 2019 blog posts, and here it is. I quote, "One of the reasons we've been wary of discussing subjects like these in the past is because we don't want to make commitments that we cannot fulfill. With that in mind, we hope that the community will understand that the plans we've laid out above are just that, plans. If we need to make changes for the health of the team or the project, we'll do so. In the meantime, all we can say is thank you for your continued patience. Your interest in our game means a huge amount to all of us, and we're excited to involve you more closely in the ongoing development of Hytale. In addition to blog posts dedicated to specific features, we're going to start producing broader development updates showing off the work we've been doing as it happens. We're not going to be able to show everything. We're still mindful of spoilers, but we're planning to open up much more than we have in the past." End quote. So, this is a pretty important statement. They said that if they need to, make any changes or pushbacks any further than for the health of their team, then they probably will, which I'm fine with, because a perfect game is better than a bad rush delayed one. I'm gonna put a quote up on screen of Shigeru Miyamoto saying that, something along the lines of that. So yeah, I completely understand and I think majority of the community does as well. Yeah, if they need to make any pushbacks or changes to better benefit their team, then I think majority of us will be on board with that. I'm also happy that they're going to be more open to the community about everything that's going on in their development team. Next, we're going to move on to the new music that Oscar Garvin made for the game. So over the past year, Oscar Garvin has made many tracks that are going to be put into the Hytale game, and just last week, they have announced 4 new tracks. So let's take a look at them. On the new Hytale OST blog post, they say that, and I quote, "Over the last year, Hytale composer Oscar Garvin has produced dozens of new tracks for the game. In Hytale, each zone has a distinct set of music that helps establish its atmosphere and sense of place. Many biomes and points of interest have their own soundtracks too, and we're currently looking into ways to incorporate music into other aspects of adventure mode and in an equally dynamic way. Below you'll find 4 new tracks from the Hytale soundtrack covering areas from Zone 1, 2, and 3. We've also produced some short video clips to give you a sense of the areas that you might hear this music in the game. These tracks are available as part of the Hytale OST and on our YouTube channel, along with 5 pieces we've already released, end quote. So, I've actually been playing a few of the new Hytale songs in the background of this video while you've been watching. And in the top right corner, I've left some notes that say the name of the song and who it's by, which is Oscar Garvin. I'll leave a link to the entire Hytale soundtrack OST playlist in the description of this video. The 4 new songs that were announced are called Herbalist's Refuge, Canyon of the Many Suns, Ancient Tombs, and Snowfall. For Herbalist's Refuge, the blog post says, this track is intended to evoke a sense of peaceful exploration in the deep forests and green riverlands of Zone 1. While this region certainly has its dangers, it's also a place that offers sanctuary and that has, in the past, enjoyed the protection of Gaia herself. Music has the power to make you feel the lore, even if it's not immediately apparent, Oscar says. For Canyon of the Many Suns, the blog post says, and I quote, I was imagining a lost temple hidden deep within a canyon, Oscar says about this piece of music, which comes from Zone 2. Traversing treacherous terrain often takes effort, and this track attempts to reflect both the mystery of the unknown and the sense of accomplishment that accompanies the end of a long journey. For Ancient Tombs, the song that's playing in the background right now, the blog post states that venture deep into one of those lost temple entrances and you may hear this track. I was imagining a deep desert tomb where you might happen upon an occult ritual, Oscar says. Evil magic runs through the veins of this hidden ruin. And finally, the last song, Snowfall. The blog post states that, and I quote, this track from Zone 3 is very different, reflecting the wintry climes of this beautiful but frequently dangerous part of Orbis. I was imagining a vast snowy landscape with snow on the pine trees, with some hints of my home country, Norway, Oscar says. I evoke the feeling of these images in my mind, and I chose instruments and harmonies accordingly. I write in this role-playing kind of way to try to give a level of cinematic immersion to the player, end quote. I listened to all 4 of the soundtracks and I like them a lot. My 2 favorites were probably Herbalist Refuge and Snowfall. I like the peaceful feel of Herbalist Refuge, and I liked Snowfall because it kind of reminds me of Canada because it's cold here, just like Norway. I thought all these songs were really well made, and keep up the good work, Oscar, if you're watching this video. The next blog post we'll be talking about is going to be the graphics update, which is probably one of the most epic blog posts they have ever released, and I'll tell you why in a second. At the start of the graphics update blog post, they state that Hytale is based on a custom engine that has been built from scratch over the last 4 years. This year, our engine developers have continued to upgrade our technology with new features, including real-time shadows, improved water effects and bloom, and a host of improvements to rendering and particle effects. In this post, we're going to showcase these changes and then show you how they all come together in a gameplay clip. First though, a quick note about hardware compatibility. While we've added some dramatic new features to the engine, our baseline system requirements haven't changed. Hytale will be fully playable on a low-end system with an integrated graphics chip. In fact, many of the features you'll see below work on integrated Intel GPUs. We're fully aware of how important performance is, however, so we'll also provide the option to customize your graphics settings to help suit your setup. Despite the progress we've made, everything we're revealing in this post represents work in progress. The look and feel of Hytale will keep evolving as we continue to work on the game. I'm very excited to see what new types of graphic improvements they have made to what we've seen so far, and I'm also excited that they will have the ability to customize your graphics to suit your setup, because I think that's important for people with lower scale computers. Okay, let's fully dive into the blog post now. The first thing they said in the blog post is, and I quote, "One of the biggest changes to Hytale's look and feel over the last few months has been the addition of cascaded shadow mapping. Characters and the environment now cast detailed shadows that react to the position of the sun and the moon, a change that should be apparent in every screenshot and video that we post from now on." And with that, they've also included a few photos of the shadows being showcased inside of the world of Hytale. Me and many other people in the community, I think, are pretty happy about this change because it showcases that the developers are willing to focus on even the smallest of details that not even Minecraft fully has without mods. I think this is really cool. Keep up the great work. With that last image of the character holding the battle axe, underneath that is a caption that says, "Entity shadows reflect the exact shape of the creature or character in question, including any equipped weapons or gear and the animation being performed." Furthering the talk of the new shadows, they also uploaded a picture on that blog post with a bunch of trees in a forest and a caption. The caption states that, and I quote, "When combined with the weather and the time of day presets that we've outlined in the custom content post, real-time shadows can help produce some really atmospheric environments. To get the full effect, however, you've got to see it in motion. So here's a time-lapse showing time of day transitions in a variety of settings." This is the time-lapse that part of the blog post was talking about. I really think that this is pretty cool because, as you can see, the light just shining off of the books just looks absolutely insane. And I'm really excited to be seeing stuff like that in the game. Also in the graphics blog post, they also said that they added some new water effects. The first thing they said they added is, and I quote, "We've also added additional depth and sophistication to Hytale's water effects with the addition of reflections, refraction, waves, edge whitening, and more. Take a look at this far riverbank in the screenshot above to see how the trees are reflected onto the surface of the water." More on water. They also said that, and I quote, "This screenshot demonstrates the benefit of underwater caustics, which have helped to create a more immersive effect while exploring beneath the waves. We're continuing to work on our water tech. These effects are only going to improve between now and launch." Just like the shadows, I really like how they're really trying to make the world more immersive by adding effects like this. I think it'll really help bring the feel of Hytale into the real world, and it'll make us feel like that we are actually in the game. In the graphics blog, they also have a certain section for blooms and sunshafts. Under that section it says, "Bloom and sunshaft effects are another immersion, boosting addition that bring Hytale's environments to life. In the shot above, you can see both effects most clearly in the area around the bison's horns. The next shot demonstrates the dramatic effect created when sunlight breaks through into an underground environment. In this case, one with its own mysterious source of light. Please note that sunshafts like these are currently not compatible with integrated graphics cards, but they are an example of what can be achieved with more powerful hardware." Just like with what I said with water and shadows, I really like how they're really trying to make the environment more immersive by adding simple things like sunshafts. It'll be really cool to be venturing in a cave and then seeing a little opening in the ceiling and just seeing lights just pour through at high noon. It'll be really cool and really fun to see because it makes the environment more immersive and feels more realistic. They also have a more improvement section where they also showed more how shadows affect and make the world of Hytale more immersive. The first picture shows two people walking by a river, and it shows the sun piercing through the trees. The second photo shows a wooded area, and it shows how the shadows make the wooded forests more immersive. And the third photo is somebody sitting inside cooking, and it shows how sunlight can pour through your windows. Before we move on to the gameplay clip, I would like to analyze this photo for a little bit. I find this photo really interesting because it shows how, it shows a man sitting inside, obviously, with a hat on. The hat is completely 3D, and it also shows him with some sort of vegetable in his hand. In this photo, you can also clearly see pots and cups in the corner of the room, in both corners of the room, and you can also see a chair. I really hope in Hytale that we'll have the ability to actually fully sit on chairs, because I think that'd make the world way more immersive. You can also see a pot of water boiling on a stove. I think that's really cool as well, because that means that cooking in Hytale will likely be more complicated than it currently is in a game like Minecraft. You can also see more jars up on the shelf above the stove. I really hope that Hytale gives us the ability to put different items in jars, because I think that'd be once again really cool to help immerse the world. And finally, the last thing I'm going to do before I end this analyzation is I'm going to look at the knife and the apple on the countertop next to the stove. You can see that there's a cutting board there, and I really hope that in Hytale, when cooking, you'll be able to slice up fruit and prepare it in a way that you would in a game like, let's say, Legend of Zelda, where you combine different ingredients and throw them into a pot. I really hope that Hytale's cooking will be much like that, except that you actually have to cut fruit and cut different things, and that you can make different things in Hytale. I really hope they do an entire blog post on cooking, just because I think that'd be pretty cool to see, because they've already done one partially on farming, and it'd be cool to see what you do with the food that you farm. And the last thing in this blog post is a real gameplay clip, which I'm going to quickly analyze right now. And then I'll get on to the final two blog posts. So something I just thought I'd mention is that this clip is slowed down quite a bit so that we'll have time to process everything that is going on in the clip. So as you can see right off the bat here is that the two players, they're entering a skeleton dungeon, likely in Zone 1. I find it really cool how players leave dust particles behind them while they run. So first off, we see that the person that we're looking out of did some sort of jump combo attack. Then the skeletons start attacking them, and their screen turns red. I like the different types of skeletons that you can see in Hytale. Now here you can see that the player does some sort of charged attack, jumps over a pit filled with spikes, and then slams his hammer down on the ground, killing that skeleton. As you can see, there's a little progress bar in the top right corner, and I think that's really interesting that for dungeons you'll be able to see how many mobs you've killed and know how many are left, kind of like raids in Minecraft. You can also see what items you've picked up in the bottom right corner. You can see the other character battling in the background, and you can also see that the character we're looking out of the eyes of just picked up a purple spellbook, which seems to allow them to cast different types of spells. It seems to be a charged attack, much like the attack with the hammer, and it seems like that they're casting little fireballs, and it seems like they're throwing them at the other skeletons. I also find it really cool how mobs are running clearly after the players. I think that's pretty cool. I also really like how the health bar decreasing animation is pretty clean. As you can see, the player in the background is holding a shield. In Hytale, I really hope that we'll have the ability to hold shields and attack at the exact same time. I really like the death animation with that skeleton. It kind of just falls apart. It's like it was corrupted, and then its corruption left, and it kind of just falls. I really think that's a cool detail. I really wish we had chest opening animations like that in Minecraft. I'm excited to see stuff like that in Hytale, because it looks pretty cool. I love how clean the animation is from changing from first-person mode to third-person mode, and it's good to know that when we're fighting a Trork, let's say in Zone 1, that we won't have to worry about any like we don't have to worry about a sudden camera glitch backwards into third-person mode. It seems like in Hytale, there'll be a wide selection of elemental swords with different abilities, like the one that the player in the background is waving around. And it also seems like right up on top of the chest, there seems to be some sort of gem up there, and I hope that we'll be able to collect that. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed earlier, but in the bottom right corner, when the character that we're looking out of the eyes of was picking up items, you could see that it clearly labeled what each item was classified as. It said weapon for the purple spellbook, and it said block for bones, which I think is pretty cool. In this shot right here, you can see it looks like there's another floor to the dungeon, which would mean that this, the fire sword that the second character collects, it looks like that is only the reward for the first layer of the dungeon. And I bet that there's going to be better and cooler rewards on different layers. So if that is the layer for the first zone or the second zone of the dungeon, I couldn't even imagine what's at the last and final, like at the final stage of the dungeon. And finally, the last thing I'm going to say is that in this scene here, at the very top of the screen, you can see that there are like little planks that are sticking out of like a bridge at on the top platform there. I hope that in Hytale, as just from that screenshot, I estimate that we'll be able to see those in like a creative inventory, where we can just build like tight, small little like walkways for people to walk on. I think that's a cool detail that they hid in there. I lied, this is the last thing. At the bottom right corner of the screen, you can see these 5 icons here. The first one seems to be a banner with a bunch of question marks on it. I predict that maybe in Hytale we'll be able to join clans with our friends, which I think will be pretty cool. The second one looks like it may be a book of known spells that we know. And I think that there's a chance that we might be able to just open our inventory and assign different spells to books that we own. The third one seems to be a compass, which I assume will likely be some sort of map that we'll use to travel around the zones, much like some mods in Minecraft that show like a map in the top right corner. I assume that could be what that is in Hytale. The second last one seems to be your inventory, because it's a bag, and the last one seems to be some sort of button with 2 people shaking hands. I think that could be like a button that we'll use to make alliances with maybe different in-game creatures from different zones or from different players in the game that we invite. And one last thing, when that player hits that skeleton with his hammer, that skeleton flies off in one direction, hits another skeleton, and knocks him over. I think that's an awesome addition to the game. The second last blog post we're going to cover today is the November 27th, 2019 progress update. This is a completely different blog post from the blog post that we did at the start of the video. Just thought I'd let you know. But anyway, let's just get into it. So they started this blog post off with some new biomes, and they said, and I quote, "Over the last few weeks, 2 new biomes have been incorporated into the World Gen systems for Zone 1 and Zone 2. In Zone 1, you might encounter an autumn forest, a densely wooded area where the leaves have turned deep orange and brown. Explore to find mushrooms, pumpkin crops, and some decorated glowing flora." They also included 2 pictures, which I'll show on screen now with this. Underneath the autumn forest, they also have a new area in Zone 2. This is what the blog post says, and I quote, "Explorers in Zone 2, meanwhile, may stumble across an oasis. These verdant areas provide stark contrast to the desert wilderness, and an opportunity to harvest materials that may not be easy to find elsewhere. Be mindful, however, you're not the only creature that may be drawn to this isolated lagoon." I wonder what type of creature will be found in this lagoon. I kind of predict there will be some sort of like sea creature, a sea monster, like maybe something like the Loch Ness monster, or maybe something like a giant crocodile. We'll see when the game comes out. Remember earlier in the video where I said they did a blog post on farming? Well, here it is. Here's part of it. So they dedicated a part of this blog post to farming. The blog post states that, and I quote, "Farming is an important part of Hytale, and over the last few months have been spent refining the design and implementation of key aspects of this feature, including tilling the earth, planting seeds, and harvesting crops that grow in real time over the course of several in-game days." I really hope that farming in Hytale, like I said earlier when I was analyzing the Blooms and Sunshafts post, I really hope that farming will be super immersive and that we'll be able to go out and water crops, and there'll be animals that can come on by and try to eat them, and we can scare them off. I hope that there'll be scarecrows that we can use. I really have high hopes for Hytale because everything they've done so far looks really good. So keep up the great work, and I hope that farming will be just like that. Also in the farming section, they say, the next step is livestock farming and animal domestication, including an animal happiness system that will react to a variety of factors, including feed, the availability of good bedding, and the company system of similar creatures. I really like that. I really hope that in Hytale we'll be able to build barns with a bunch of animals, and you can visit animals, and the animals will be more friendly to you when you're there because they the attention and stuff, and I really hope that that you can make other animals interact with each other. You can put a dog next to a horse, and then they'll start I don't know, they'll start barking or neighing at each other. I don't know. I feel like that would be pretty cool for Hytale. I'm excited for this feature. I think that it'll be pretty cool. And finally, the last thing this blog post is they announced this really weird new creature. They showed a picture of some sort of sewer with a player guarding it with a rat in the background. And they also showed a little section of some dinosaurs, which look epic. Now listen, I know I've been rating everything really cool or epic, but I mean, I genuinely think this game is going to turn out to be insane. I say that a lot too, but I think this game is going to be groundbreaking, and I'm really excited for it. So while I was making this video, a new blog post came out, so real quick, I'm just going to go over that one. The new blog post they uploaded is the December 2019 update blog post. Let's just get right into it. The first thing they say is, and I quote, "This week marks 1 year since the announcement of Hytale. The journey we've been on since has been exciting, challenging, even life-changing, and we all owe it to the community. Whether you've watched the trailer, posted about us, made a video, that's me, or sent your fan art, your enthusiasm has been given us a chance to become better developers and raise the bar for a project that we're deeply passionate about. Now, with a progress update, starting with a closer look at one particular part of the gameplay clip. The gameplay clip that they're referring to is the one that I analyzed earlier in this video. It is a year since the announcement of Hytale. That's awesome. I can't believe it's already been 1 year since Hytale was announced. And the time has gone by pretty quick, and I'd say. And I'm happy that the developers are passionate about the project that they've been working on. Anyway, let's see what they have to say about the gameplay clip. This blog post seems to be all about objectives. They say, in case you missed it, here's a gameplay clip that we first published in the graphics update post. Many of you noticed the kill count that appeared in the top right corner of the screen after the combat encounter began. This is a basic example of Hytale's objective system, which plays an important role in your journey through adventure mode. The objective system allows us to set specific goals for the player when certain conditions are met. As a basic example, an objective may be established when a player enters a particular location, such as the ruins in the gameplay clip. Encounter prefabs like this feature, hand-designed architecture and gameplay scenarios, structured challenges that complement the free-form exploration that you'll otherwise be engaged in. They also included this image of a twerk camp. They also say, sometimes an objective might be tied to an item, like a treasure map or a bounty note that sends you off on a pursuit of a specific foe. Objectives can be one-off missions, or they can form chains that require you to succeed at multiple stages of a challenge before receiving your reward. We'll go into more detail about the kinds of rewards that objectives will provide in adventure mode in the future, but loot and faction reputation are both likely reasons for you to seek out these special tasks. So they mentioned faction reputations. So I think that does kind of confirm what I was saying earlier about clans that you can join. I think that kind of confirms that. They also mentioned that about the whole objective system. I think that's really cool how it could send you off on like a whole major side quest. In the last section of the objective part of the blog post, they say, as with many parts of Hytale, our goal is for the system to be fully extensible. Server operators will be able to use it to structure their own challenges, and the system is fully compatible with cooperative play. Location-based objectives can be joined by any player who happens to be in the right area. It's awesome that this will be customizable for server operators and it works in multiplayer, because that means in servers you can have massive server-wide events. If it's like an open world server, you can have like everybody gets to like kill a boss in a certain part of the map, and everyone's objective gets sent over there. It's a really cool way to for server operators to customize their servers, and I really hope that a lot of server operators in the future do use this to their advantage. The next section of this blog post is called Content Progression Updates. Let's get into it. They say for this part, over the last few weeks, we've started testing a series of changes to adventure mode structure. In the past, we conceived of adventure mode as a journey through the zones in sequential order. So by the time you reach Zone 3, you'll be more powerful and better equipped than you were when you first set foot in Zone 1. We're rethinking this approach in order to encourage a less linear progression path. Now, the first 3 zones can contain content at multiple tiers of difficulty, along with appropriately scaling resources and rewards. This means it's possible for your adventure to start in Zone 1, 2, or 3. We haven't settled on whether this will be random or it'll be a matter of player choice, and even the zone names themselves are still yet to be finalized. No matter where your journey begins, you have the choice of establishing yourself in your starting region, moving to another zone, or even roaming between them. Whatever you decide, you will be able to find content appropriate to your power level. In this shot above, you can see a view of Zone 2 showing multiple different biomes. You can probably tell which areas are likely to offer more sustainable challenges. And the picture that they're referring to is the one that's right behind the text. It is an aerial shot of Zone 2. I think it was a good idea on their part to make Zone 1, 2, and 3 rather tame compared to other ones, rather than it being a sequential order type thing. I think that gives the player a wider range of exploration, and it makes them feel like that they're not limited to only staying in one zone. With that being said, they also showed a small ruin in Zone 2. They say, the tier of a particular area affects the types of prefabs you'll find there. Above, you can see a basic ruin in Zone 2, content appropriate for a player that is just starting on their journey, and it has 2 skeletons on the top of it. Below that, they show a picture of an upscaled ruin. They say, here's a higher tier version of the same concept. Players who want to take on the undead occupants of this crumbling fortress need to be well prepared. As encounters increase in complexity, so do the NPCs that inhabit them. While we've previously explored the concept of enemy classes, you can check out an example of a Chork subtypes in this blog post from last year. We've been working on expanding this with a tier system of its own. Certain powerful enemy types will now only occur in high tier encounters. Other classes may appear in multiple tiers, but level up as they do so. And with that, they showed a picture of an upscaled, higher tier version of the fortress that was shown in the last picture. I like it how in different parts of each zone, enemies will be tougher. I think it's a good way to progress the player along in their adventure in Orbis. They also took the opportunity of talking about different structures and classes to show some cool things that some of the mobs can do in the game. They say, in this screenshot, the player's fighting an undead mage. These are slightly more advanced than your basic skeleton. You won't encounter them at the lowest tier of difficulty, but they're not the deadliest foe you'll encounter either. And in this photo, you can see that the skeleton has the purple spellbook, what the player picked up earlier on in the gameplay clip that they showed. And I really hope in Hytale that there'll be more than just one type of mage, that there'll be mages with multiple different attacks, rather than just one spellbook. In the same part of the blog post, they also say, here's what you may encounter at a higher tier of difficulty, a powerful variant of the same fundamental mage archetype, with more formidable appearance to match. Luckily, the player in this shot has had some equipment upgrades too. These changes are still being tested by the team, but we're excited by the potential for the system to add a variety and give players greater choice over the direction that they take at the beginning of their adventure. The next steps to finish implementing similar content updates in Zone 1 and 3. We will also include new prefabs and NPC types for a variety of factions, including the Chorks and the Outlanders. Expect to hear more about this in the future. They also included this picture. On the note of all this, I just want to say something I'm a bit worried about for Hytale. For Hytale, I'm worried that if you settle down in Zone 1 or 2, for example, eventually those areas will become more too easy for you. I really hope that the game doesn't force you to move along with the storyline and everything. I hope that we're allowed to be able to stay in zones and maybe they can make it the easier zones get harder over time rather than just the zones stay the same. I'd rather the zones get harder over time the longer you're there, so that it doesn't feel like we're just wasting our time living in a super easy zone. I want it to be like Minecraft, where we kind of just live in a zone that we want to live in. I don't want to be forced along the path of the game. Again, I don't want to be forced along the storyline. Right? I want to explore. I want to do things on my own. I want it to be open world. I don't want to be forced along the storyline. I want to be able to live in a zone and stay in that zone. You know what I mean? Hytale developers, if you're listening, I really hope that we do have the ability just to stay in the zone, and then it doesn't force us along the storyline. Because I'm worried about in order to go through the storyline, we're gonna have to keep on exploring outwards, right? And I hope that we don't have to explore too far out, right? If we want to settle down in an easier zone, for example. The last thing in this blog post is some new mobs that they're adding. Let's just jump right into it. The first new mob they show some super cool bioluminescent fish. They say, in the distant region of Orbis, a new aquatic menace has emerged. complete with eerie bioluminescent markings. These fish look absolutely insane, and I can't wait to come across these in the deep depths of the Orbis Oceans. The last new mob they show in this blog post is an undead chicken, and the last thing they say in this blog post is, in our last progress update, the November one, we showed how the Curse of Undeath can produce some truly twisted beings. However, not every victim of this malign magic is quite so monstrous. That's pretty cool. It kind of confirms what I said earlier, like with the skeletons when I was analyzing the combat video, how it's more like a corruption than like they're just naturally bad. Anyway, overall, I really like all the new mobs and all the work that the Hytale team has put into this game over the past year. Thank you, Hytale team, if you're watching, for all your effort. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all the five. That's the 5 new Hytale blog posts. Once again, thank you, everybody on the Hytale team, for your effort and your enthusiasm on this game. I'm very excited to see how it's going to turn out. I hope you're as excited for Hytale as I am. And yeah, that's the entire video. Be sure to check out all the Hytale blog posts and all the Hytale songs that I've linked into the description. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye.